Shout out to all of the virus creators who helped create the new strain, novel coronavirus, originating from Wuhan Institute of Virology, allegedly. I will put the sources in the show notes so you can look at your leisure at the connection between
I believe you.
the Purbright Institute.
I believe this nut job of yours because I believe China did something like that because they're fucking morons over there. But
the WHO was also involved, so it's not just China, and France as well. So it's a very much a collaboration of a
Here we go.
situation.
I love this. Why don't you just do a show just about this kind of stuff?
Well, we had to talk about movies.
No. Why don't you just do a show about this kind of stuff?
Oh, okay.
You could just sit here all day.
That's how this started.
Untape your webcam and just go on YouTube and...
That's how it started, man.
And just start talking about...
Random thoughts with Elle Latham. My voice said, peace out, and left me for a while.
Yeah, then you're going to do your own conspiracy-laden podcast.
I was planning on it, but then my voice was like, bitch, no. Bitch, I'm going to take a break.
Also, I have a cough, too. Not coronavirus.
Yeah, none of this was caused by coronavirus.
None of it.
It was just regular shit. So,
yeah,
there's a lot of paranoia out there about that, and I'm sure Twitter's making the most
paranoia,
of it.
So much.
Twitter loves paranoia.
I mean, I know you ride the bus occasionally.
Yes, I was on the bus and somebody heard me coughing because my throat was affected by the AC in the back, which was at full blast. And because of that, this chick in front of me with the mask on left and went to the front of the bus. And I'm like, well, I'm not sick. I'm just dying because of the AC.
Yeah, nobody.
Why do we have an AC on in 60-degree weather? But whatever, it's fine. It's fine.
Everybody's so angry. It's just it's funny because, it's another example of sort of this media-driven hysteria.
Yes. It's to keep people docile and in their houses.
But they're not, in their houses, I guess, yeah, but it's not docile. It's agitating
compliant.
It's not even compliant. They're forcing this fear on them. And, and I could be wrong. They don't want
human connection. I think that's what a lot of this has to do with. I was reading on the Twitter feed because they love to just shove shit in your face nowadays. Mm-hmm. And they were saying that there were churches that weren't having handshakes or any touching. And,
right, or they tell you to stay 6 feet away from
somebody. Cancel church. What the fuck? Why even go?
Yeah, and
you're not going to have a human connection.
Well, but still, God should protect them, right? Why?
Mm-hmm.
If they're not going, if they're worthy of living, right? If they're worthy of living, God will protect them. If they die, then obviously they weren't.
Isn't that how their book says it?
Right. So, if they're chosen or they're not chosen. If you die, it's because God wants you to die.
It's His will.
Yeah, I think it's just to get rid of all the old people. That's personally my opinion.
I believe that too in a way. But I think they're going to perish in many ways, especially in the U.S. because the obesity rate is crazy high here, and people are already medicated to the nth degree. And doing stupid shit and eating stupid shit.
Well, there's people...
So that's why there's so many cases here, because clearly a lot of people are unhealthy. And so when you're unhealthy to begin with, you have pre-existing conditions that you can't do anything about because you don't have the right health care. Right. Then you're going to end up dying from coronavirus. That's how that works. And yet you won't know
or you're
for
not,
sure that is the
not
case
going
because you can't get tested.
You're probably not going to.
Boom, because you can't afford $3,000 for the bill.
Right. Well, now they're going to make the tests free. So.
Oh, well, that's good. Everything will be fine.
My roommate just got an email this morning from her insurance provider saying, if you want to get the test, it's free. I'm like, go get it. Go get it.
And that's blood work.
Yeah,
so
it's blood
just taking your blood.
Well, it's not blood. It's actually spit and swabs from inside your nose.
Just more DNA out there in the universe.
Yeah.
And just give them your DNA.
I'm like, go get it. She's like, well, what if I have it? It's like, what if I have it? I'll get quarantined. I was like, you're right.
All the conspiracy theorists should stay away from these tests. My gosh. Yeah. This is coming for our brand, man.
Well, a chance if you get, they're saying pretty much everybody's going to get it at some point. Because
did they say that about SARS? I don't remember SARS, but I know it was a big epidemic.
No, it was coronavirus has been around for a while. This is the novel coronavirus, so the new version.
The new version they created in a lab.
Yeah, so they say,
in Wuhan.
So they say,
Not
but it's the same basic virus as SARS and MERS.
Did you see the thing about the Eyes of the Darkness from the book, from 1981 from Dean Koontz? A lot of that's circulating in the conspiracy circles. That they called it Wuhan 400, the virus in the thing, and it happened to be created in 2020.
Well, I'll tell you what, if anybody's a prophet, it's not Dean Koontz.
I know, right?
Jeez, man. But yeah, so there's a lot of shit going on.
They're just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks with all of this
conspiracy
conspiracies surrounding this. They should
build the wall, right? That's
well, the conspiracies are just flying every which way.
Well, sure, because they can, and
because there's not enough factual information.
There's a lot of factual information out there. People start listening to it. They aren't abiding by it. They'd rather argue about.
Well, it's simple. It's pretty simple. Just wash your hands. And
wash your hands. Don't sneeze in people's mouths. Cover your face.
Be a human being.
Right, just do the same thing you do before. Just more of it.
It's not hard.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about going everywhere all the time and being right next to somebody.
Well, and you don't have to worry about.
I'm surprised nobody's trying to save a seat for themselves on the bus. I'd be not surprised if one day it was just one person a seat. And then everybody's coughing at work all the time.
Well, that's because this whole thing
uncomfortable with it.
This whole coincided with flu season too, and
it's very convenient timing. And then right before spring break, very convenient to get people to not. I think another thing that they're doing is trying on purpose to crash the economy. They've been trying to do that for a while in various ways. They found out, hey, this virus thing really fucks shit up.
Yeah, but who's trying to crash the economy? You say they, but who's they?
I think ultimately what it's pointing to is the banksters who have I don't remember exactly how much it is, but there's some kind of what is it called? A money settlement thing that they could get if there's a massive epidemic. I don't know. There's something. There's some money involved.
I heard about that one.
But I don't remember the exact number and everything. So.
Yeah, because Trump's saying go out there and do your shit. He's going out there to do your business.
And that's not what the consensus is of the media.
Yeah, and people are out there buying up all the toilet paper
and the media is throwing that in everybody's face. Hey, look at what's happening. It's all chaos. Da da da.
No, it is. I was listening to the governor's speech today about the boat that they're bringing the boats in from Oakland.
Okay, another thing. Cancel the cruises. Why were there cruises after 2/25 or whatever the fuck? Why even have a cruise? Why would you get on a cruise? Are you that dumb?
Because old people are angry, and if you cancel their cruises, then.
But you can cancel South by Southwest for the young people. They'll be fine.
So stupid. Well, that's because no one was coming.
Or the Olympics, possibly, allegedly.
Nah, it'll be over by then. There'll be a
Did you see the Akira clip that everybody was talking about?
Akira, the cartoon?
Yeah.
No.
There was an Olympics in 2020 in Tokyo.
Oh.
In it. I didn't know how old that was.
Akira?
It's from 80s.
Yeah, it's 1982.
Yeah, what's with this 80s shit? Predicting.
Because in the 80s they had the same problem. AIDS was starting up. They had all the same problems of these different viruses coming up.
Yes, that's my theory.
Academics and.
That I've said before, everything is happening is happening now, has happened multiple times again and again.
Well, yeah,
vicious cycle.
Someone put up a whole thing about every election year there's some kind of virus going on.
Yeah.
It's and that's I can't figure out this one.
They're already comparing this one to the Spanish flu in the media. They're like, oh my
Spanish
gosh,
flu,
is it as bad? I literally just Googled it at work, and in the search engine, coronavirus, just that. And then the first thing that comes up is is it as bad as the Spanish flu? And I can't read it.
No, because there's not nearly the sanitation.
That's the headlines you're seeing is
because
comparing
people
it to
want to they want to do that, and they want to try to everybody wants to have everybody wants to be special.
We've talked about this enough.
Right, and everybody wants to have their thing.
We got to talk about Joe. The quarantine episode of the Super Awkward Funcast, where the fun never ends.
Mic check.
And the mic check never ends. And I have my friend, Steven Robles, on the phone because we can't see each other in person because we're social distancing.
Mic check.
Because like I told you last time, we're all going to die. But don't panic. But everybody panicked.
I'm not done that.
But the thing is, everybody panicked, and then they went to the grocery store, and now we don't have any toilet paper. So there's that.
Got plenty of toilet paper.
Good times. In the meantime, a lot has happened with the corona. Corona is everywhere. Like an invisible enemy, as they say. They're using war language.
That's right.
Just like the Al-Qaeda and the ISIS and all of that. The war on terror. We got a war on germs. And we're gonna win it. We're gonna win this war.
It's not germ. It's not germ. It's a virus.
Yeah, but it's on germs, really, because that's what that's what people are most concerned about. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. So nobody knew how to wash their hands before, but now they're good. Well, I'm on unemployment now, so that's fun. I lost my job on March 19th.
You didn't lose your job. That's just not what.
Well, it's not open. I can't do my job. So I was told I couldn't do my job.
I mean, you really didn't lose your job, but you're coming back, right?
Yeah. Well, it may be if the new era doesn't begin. You know, I was prepared for this shit. I've been saving up a lot of money over the last year or so in preparation for a downfall in our economy, like a huge, I guess you could call it recession, but it could end up more of a depression than a recession.
Well, let me ask you this. How is a recession of your economy? You don't invest in stocks, right?
No, but obviously a lot of people are not able to work and get the hours that they were getting before and the pay that they were getting before. I got a lovely letter saying that I was going to get a very small amount of money in my benefits for the unemployment. Luckily, I have become financially secure recently. I won't say how. Well, by getting hit by a car. So
yeah, you got hit by a car.
Yeah, I got hit by a Jeep, and I made some money from that. So call me crazy and a rich bitch or whatever, because I made some money by getting hit. What else? Well, the Event 201, a lot of people are talking about now because Bill Gates keeps popping up everywhere talking about his vaccines. Because that's when he's going to get his money, as he already stepped off the board of Microsoft to focus on his philanthropy, his money laundering operation. And let's also not forget his connection to Jeffrey Epstein, even though the media loves to, where he was trying to give money or take money or give money to a university through Jeffrey Epstein, but without saying it's Jeffrey Epstein's money. So he kind of helped him out there. A little bit about him. So there aren't really a lot of people. The people who are going to make it rich off of this are going to be the people who most likely had some involvement in it. Like, another thing is that Bill Gates is a major, major donor through his foundation to the WHO, the World Health Organization, which was started from the UN, which is also a fraudulent organization that pretends to be about one thing and is totally about another. And WHO had a very big relationship with China, the Chinese Communist government party leaders, and kind of made it possible for the spread to continue of this virus and for more deaths because they hid some information, and the CCP hid some information for a long time. We're covering it up. And you can't trust their numbers either. So people are like, oh, China has no new cases or whatever. You can't trust the CCP to tell you the truth about that. So It's even more of a lying government than ours. It's not just that, though. It's that the biolabs, the biosafety labs with the viruses that they're studying in these labs where things can go awry, and whether it was on purpose or not, and it's very convenient if it wasn't on purpose, a virus was released, and possibly...
No.
Possibly the wet market was just to cover it up. What am I watching? I'm watching a lot of James Corbett as usual. And I watch some stuff I don't agree with just to have as many viewpoints as possible and to think about things. And it's interesting. I haven't prescribed to any one idea. I would be open to this being a wet market thing. It seems plausible, but it's also interesting because the bats was the origin. Okay, sir, hold on. The bats was the origin. Okay. What are we doing?
Pangolin, not that.
Whatever. Whatever animal. I'm not saying pangolin because I'm talking about something else, actually. The bats were the ones who carried the virus over to the pigs in the coronavirus pandemic exercise that was Event 201 on October 18, 2019 at Johns Hopkins University in New York. And that's how everything began. So it would make sense that they would want to blame it on a creature again.
That's also how the virus got started in the movie Contagion with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Exactly.
You might be confusing the two, maybe.
I'm not confusing this. I've seen the entire Event 201 exercise, and I will link to it in the description of this video so people will be able to watch it. There's 5 segments, so it's pretty long. But I spent a good amount of time, probably 3 hours or so, watching it. And I had already watched the end of, which is actually the beginning, of Contagion before that. So yeah, I already knew that that was a thing that they did in the Contagion movie, and maybe that's where they got the idea for this little exercise that they did. I don't know. But it is certainly confusing and convenient. And then a few weeks later, it starts live. Well, it's interesting because the Bilderberg conference in 2019, one of the topics was China, and Jared Kushner was there along with Mike Pompeo from the Trump administration. And they did a lot of talking about things. And then guess who else was there? The World Economic Forum's president, who also, by the way, the World Economic Forum, who does the Davos conferences, was the partner in the sponsoring of that Event 201 exercise with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So it was a co-sponsorship. And they just happened to be at Bilderberg last year. And then the Bilderberg meeting is canceled this year until further notice or postponed because we don't want all those old fucking farts to be susceptible to the virus that they possibly could have been involved in creating. In terms of like ideas, maybe. It's taking away a lot of our liberties, which we'd never had in the first place, or showing that we never had any liberties to begin with, because we're stuck at home. But it's safe for us. We're safer. But we're still seeing the numbers rise every day, which is also suspicious.
Well, sure, because the testing is increasing.
Because of the testing, yes. And then the testing is not... There's not a lot of transparency about that either, about what's being tested specifically and how that will get you a coronavirus, specifically COVID-19, positive or negative results. So it's left a lot of questions on what's going on. So until that's figured out, it won't be figured out because that was part of the whole plan anyway, was to not have as much information available about what's going on as possible, and to keep people kind of in their houses where they can't see what's going on outside. I think that has a lot to do with the information overload that we're getting online every day, and a lot of differing opinions and, divide and conquer strategies, which always help in a crisis. And then there's something to be said about the toilet paper shortage being something that on the surface is based on hoarding, but not really. And there's been people who have said that that's not really exactly what's going on. So it just kind of sucks because
there already been a ton of stories talking about the toilet paper quote unquote shortage.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that there's not a shortage necessarily, it's just a controlled dispersal because they don't want a shortage. So there is no actual shortage, it's just controlled dispersal of this resource.
But it shows how dumb the public is that they kind of see something and then they go straight to that.
That's why I don't subscribe to these conspiracy theories that you put out, because I think that a lot of these things are done to keep people inside, to keep people away from each other, because people are fucking stupid animals.
But they're also...
And they're going to do stupid shit. If you give people a choice, they're going to do stupid shit. And if you don't want this virus to spread, you don't want people to get sick like in New York, because the way they're increasing over there, because they're all on top of each other over there. Then you have to keep people away from each other.
But have you seen Demolition Man, though? Like, I know that seems like it's not related, but it is. In that society, they can't touch each other anymore. There's no human contact. So there's things that we've seen that seem to be keeping us away from each other and more digitized. A digitized society. And some people are saying, like, they want a digital dollar, and they put that in the coronavirus package, the stimulus package, which is more of a stimulus for the wealthy and the corporate elite. But
in that case, you're absolutely 100% correct.
Yeah, and giving us mere morsels. I saw like a bunch of cops in a video down the street. I told you, hanging out together, just like right next to each other, like 8 cops or so, just hanging out at a car that had been abandoned by an armed suspect, and they're just chilling all together like a little party. I heard a party going on yesterday too.
There's been so much bullshit going on around my place.
And if the cops can't even do that shit, why the hell do they get to fucking arrest people for doing that? That's insane. There should be no arresting of people for congregating. That's insane to me. Like, this whole world is insane.
There hasn't been any arrests because of congregating.
Well, not here, but in the Midwest, I've read some stories.
Oh, where do you read those stories? That's not true. None of that's happened yet.
Well, I don't think they could hold them for very long. But there is a situation where they put a woman in jail and then had her crowded with a bunch of other women. And it kind of defeated the purpose of the whole reason that she got put there. I don't remember the source. It might have been like a New York Daily News or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't know where it was. I think it was in New York, but I don't know 100%. That's just one example. But that's what they want to do. And then I don't know how that's going to relate to the facial recognition software with the masks thing that they're putting out there now. Well, we're all supposed to wear masks when we leave the house. Now everybody's going to be like looking ridiculous when they fucking leave the house, like they did at the grocery store yesterday. Luckily, I was able to get in there. No problem. Just shutting my mouth like a normal person who doesn't cough on people. And that makes a lot of people think it's going to be airborne or is airborne, and then that's a fucking whole theory too. And then they have a theory with the 5G now that they're actually putting on Twitter and saying like, no, this isn't true, which makes me wonder like, how true is it if the Twitter dumbasses are on top of it, the verifieds? But it can't be that true. If it is true, it would be a symbiotic thing. It wouldn't be like one had caused the other, I don't think. I think it would be like it would be at the same time. Simultaneous, that's the word.
Wait, what are you talking about?
If the 5G...
What the fuck are you talking about?
If this 5G tower thing that everybody's talking about in these ridiculous communities is somehow connected to this virus, it would be that it's happening at the same time so that people would put it together.
5G connected to the virus?
They have not explained to me yet. And I even let David Icke tell me something, but he didn't say anything either. Nothing definitive. It's just a theory.
Stupid to me.
It is stupid, but I think it's on purpose. I think they're trying. The people who run the show want that to be a narrative, or they wouldn't put it on trending on fucking Twitter and have people talking about it and debating it and being like, you're an idiot if you believe this, because it's a very divide and conquer kind of issue. And it's also very transparently dumb to think that all of this is related to 5G. Like, you can't be that stupid, because not all cities in the U.S. and beyond, in all of the countries in the world that are affected by this virus, have 5G. That would be a real reach. We don't all have 5G yet.
I just want to start at the beginning, and I'm curious as to how
something to do with the millimeter waves
thing could be related or created by something that's electronic.
But they're saying it's something to do with the DNA in the lungs and shit. They don't have any evidence to back up these claims. They're just assuming that it's the worst thing ever.
You yourself are a 5G conspiracist, right? Like,
I'm not a conspiracist. I know that it hasn't been tested.
Like, thinking about it or whatever, like,
I don't like it. I don't like 3 millimeter waves.
Well, and there's also mass hysteria, so...
Yeah, that's what's happening with this virus. There's a lot of hysteria about that. Media
I was agreeing with that
based.
Up to a point, until the sort of the serious ramifications sort of came out about what's happening.
Yeah, it's going to be like control, like, of everyone. And it's already control of everyone. But I want to keep as much freedom as I can before the end. If I'm meant to die, I'm meant to die. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, but the thing is about the mask, let's say, for example, it's not about your freedom. It's not about you. That mask is not about you. It's fully realized and understood that the mask does not keep anything out of your body. Okay? Not the typical mask. What it does is it keeps the things in your body, and it also makes other people comfortable. So it's not about you.
A lot of things make people comfortable. It doesn't mean you're going to do it every day.
Well, but you should. If
you're told by the government to do it, go ahead and do it.
If it's
and the corrupt CDC.
If you're going to go into society, to the supermarket,
we're not allowed to do that anymore. Although I am going to do that. If I go to the fucking grocery store, I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit what people say. I'm going to keep my freedom as long as I can. The amount of freedom that I have.
But it's not about you.
Again, it's not about me. It's about us. It's not about me. I didn't say it was about me. I'm saying we should all be on the same page.
You just said you're going to keep your freedom.
Yes, individual freedoms, which we were given at birth. We're given at birth the ability to do whatever we want.
At the expense of other people's choices.
I'm not falling for that bullshit guilt trip crap that they're doing now. I'm not falling for that crap. You can do that all you want with your other friends, but that shit doesn't fly with me. I don't give a shit about the group. We're all individuals. Yeah, we're a group of people, like in society. Of course, we used to be anyway, but now we're all fucking separate. So as long as we're separated, then we can fucking make our own decisions, like human beings. I'm not a fucking animal.
When you go to the supermarket.
I don't go to the supermarket. I go to Ralph's, which is not really a supermarket. It's just a regular market.
Whatever. You're making the choice to insert yourself into society where your choice doesn't matter anymore.
Where we used to actually converse and have actual, relationships, which we won't have in the future, which is a big issue. And that's part of the new era that has been ushered in, is a digitized era where we're all going to be yelling at each other on fucking Twitter and shit and not interacting in real life.
But isn't that what you
And then when does it end? When does the coronavirus end? And if it does end, they're still going to have these practices because it's just better to be safe than sorry at that point. And how many liberties are you willing to lose before you get to the end and you're like, oh shit, this is all kind of predetermined and I didn't really have a say in it. But now I have a say and you have a say, and I think we should say what we have to say and do what we have to do. And I feel like you wouldn't have felt this way a couple of months ago.
You're talking about it like it's going to happen.
It has happened.
It already happened. No, it has happened. It's been happening. It is where it is. Like, it's there already.
There's false negatives and false positives. So who the fuck knows what's going on? Again, there's not enough transparency. There's no transparency. You can say that, oh, the experts say this or whatever, but they've deemed themselves experts. There's no way to know if they're telling the truth or not. Because you're not there. And we're not going to be there because we're not allowed anywhere. How convenient. You can't go to a hospital and see it for yourself in New York. I mean, I guess you can, but you're really putting yourself at risk doing so. And there are people who are doing that. But they get one side of the story and they say, oh, that's the narrative I want. And then they get people locked into these conspiracy theories that, hey, it's a hoax and all of this shit. So you got all kinds of people out there believing whatever they fucking want, and they all fucking argue with each other. Then there's the Q people who think everybody's going to go down and get all of the rapists in Hollywood are going to get or are on house arrest. And that's what this is all for, is to just cover up that they're on house arrest. Because they would do a global pandemic just to take down the powerful pieces of shit in Hollywood and make it look like it's something it isn't. That's insane. That's insanity. So, literally, the name of the bill is HR 6666. Like that's the number. You can't make this shit up. And it's from Bobby Rush from Illinois, who's a Democrat. Not that that matters. Ever. But it literally, it's COVID-19 testing, reaching, and contacting everyone. How fun. Act. So basically the summary is, this is really great. It's to authorize the Secretary of Health and Human Services to award grants to eligible entities to conduct diagnostic testing for COVID-19 and related activities such as contact tracing through mobile health units and, as necessary, at individuals' residences and for other purposes. Don't worry about those other purposes. Those will come in later. Just...
Yeah, I'd be curious about the other purposes.
I would be curious as well. It was introduced into Congress, into the House of Representatives on May 1st, starting out May with a bang. So this is the new thing, is the contact tracing. You see, I mentioned the Clinton Foundation are back and talking about that. And then Bill Gates has mentioned it a few times, and all of his people. And the governor of this great, wonderful state, California, mentions it. And it was like snuck into the roadmap that they say for reopening California, I guess, in one of the stages, stage 3 or stage 4. I'm not even sure. I don't even know how many fucking stages there are. But at one point, when they open up concert venues and sports arenas and shit, that's when they say, oh yeah, then we'll have contact tracing being a thing. But they already hired a bunch of contact tracers and shit, and they have applications available and stuff. And then there's going to be like the Google and Apple, those great companies are going to help us with an app that will be totally private. Don't worry about it. So there's that. And then there's I told you about, I think I don't know if I talked about this before on the podcast, but the Microsoft patent for the cryptocurrency that's based on body activity data, which some believe will be the microchip. So 666 is an interesting number to come up with. Publication number is WO /2020/666 And it's a lot of jargon on the website. Human body activity associated with the task provided to a user may be used in a mining process of a cryptocurrency system. A server may provide a task to a device of a user which is communicatively coupled to the server. A sensor communicatively coupled to or comprised in the device of the user may sense body activity of the user. Body activity data may be generated based on the sensed body activity of the user. The cryptocurrency system communicatively coupled to the device of the user may verify if the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system and award cryptocurrency to the user whose body activity data is verified. But anyway, that's just one of the weird things that's going on. And they applied for that on March 26th. Oh, the publication date was March 26th, 2020. And a lot of people think that's going to be related to, obviously, it's cryptocurrency, and that's going to be tied to your biometric data, basically, and decides whether you can buy this and that and the other. And everything's just going to be based on, have you gotten the vaccine or whatever the fuck they want to say. Then Microsoft is doing really well in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Zoom is doing really great. I never even heard of Zoom before this thing. Oh, YouTube has their own issues right now with censorship. Banning stuff.
Yes and no. I mean, the people that are getting banned probably should be.
Nobody should be banned. Nobody should be banned.
Well, you should have. If your information is harming people,
it's not harming people.
If it's creating misinformation,
then you could say that about the New York Times and all of these other outlets that have done that over the years.
Absolutely.
So they should be banned. There should be no Washington Post, and there should be no New York Times then, in that respect.
I would say in terms
and no CNN, because CNN lies a lot and lied us into wars.
Editorial content, I would say absolutely. For news content,
but if you're watching, say, David Icke, and you actually believe everything he's saying, says more about you than him, because you're not very smart. You don't have critical thinking skills. And people should be able to discern for themselves what they believe and what they don't believe.
But they can't.
You can't take it too far, though, because once you take it to that level, then you can do it to anything. You can wipe the web of everything that you think is misinformation. Event 201, the pandemic exercise from October 18, 2019 from Johns Hopkins University, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the World Economic Forum put it on, and it was in New York City. And in that segment 4 of that really long saga was the misinformation and disinformation section, where they were saying, one, they could shut down the internet, but they don't want to do that because that's going to be really dicey. And how are they going to get all of the health information, public health information out and all this stuff, which is basically just, we want to get our propaganda out there before everybody else. And then if anybody else wants to go against our propaganda, they even mention, if somebody said it was a planned event or whatever in this scenario, if the CDC, the guy who was the Director General of the CDC in China was there, and he said, the actual guy, and he said, what if they say it comes out of a lab or whatever? And now we're seeing that happen all over the place, where everybody's talking about the Wuhan Institute of Virology possibly being where this was originally from. And he says, we got to crack down on that. We got to make sure that everybody knows that that's not true, and the conspiracy theorists and all this stuff. And they have prepared all of this information, all of this stuff, all of these tactics, and including Google and telling Google what to do. And Google already is kind of under China's thumb at the moment, because China was contacting Google a while back to say, hey, our search engine, we want to censor some stuff. And they're like, okay, fine. So there have been relationships between Google and China, and a lot of these companies and China, including the WHO, which took orders from China, and that's why this virus spread as wide as it did, because it was not contained, because the information was suppressed, because Taiwan warned them on December 31st, 2019, that it was a human-to-human transmission of the virus. But then China was like, fuck you, and told WHO, hey, don't say anything about that. And then WHO was like, okay, well, it's not going to be transferred human-human. And they put out a tweet, I think it was on January 19th. And then on January 21st, they were alleged to have had a call, but then they said they didn't have a call. No. Wait, on the January 21st was when they realized that it was human-to-human transmission, which is exactly what and the virus itself, some people are saying like they had symptoms way earlier than released. That info was released. So we don't know how long it's been around for real. Probably past earlier than December for all we know. So it's just really interesting seeing all of the connections of these entities and stuff and how one cleans the other and like the Bill Gates situation and how they've weaponized that info into a right-wing conspiracy kind of thing, again, because they want. The thing is, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has a lot of tentacles throughout the media and have bought the media in many ways. There was an NPR video where they were discussing the vaccines in one of these countries. I think it was somewhere in Africa, and they had to do a disclaimer saying, oh yeah, and one of our grantees is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, just so you know, blah, blah, blah. Because they have to say. So it's all publicly available information online that you can find of these connections, like the connection between, like if you look at the remdesivir and what they were saying about that drug and how that drug is connected to China through a patent that they applied for at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. There's that again. They applied for a patent for the drug in 2016. It was never given, and now they're trying to get the drug again. And Gilead Sciences, which is the pharmaceutical company behind that drug, is also the pharmaceutical company that Donald Rumsfeld was the chairman of for several years, from 1997 to 2001, when he became the Secretary of Defense. And then he, transferred everything over to the 9/11 situation and worked on that sort of thing and the wars in Iraq and everything. So he made a lot of money off of a lot of drugs that were sold.
Do you go out of the house at all anymore?
Yes, I take out the trash. I went for a walk a few days ago, and I go hang outside for a minute, but I don't wear any masks or anything like that. I've been very good about sticking to that. When I told you that was never going to happen, it still hasn't.
That's again your Georgia poking out right there. That's good. It's good.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ignorance, pretty much. Ignorance and
what the
these
fuck?
people standing on the corner. No, it's Georgia, man. Georgia.
Don't call me ignorant. Who the hell are you?
But you are. Because you are.
No, I'm not.
You're listening to questions.
I pay attention to everything.
You're watching YouTube all day long.
No, I'm not.
Not wearing a mask for some stupid reason, and it doesn't really hurt.
Yeah, because I don't want to. And I don't have it. Even if I don't even have it, so it doesn't even matter. Not everybody has a fucking mask.
You don't wear it because you don't have it, and you don't want to get one, or because you really don't want to wear one?
Both, because I don't want to be forced to do something I don't want to do. That doesn't even help anything. It's not even beneficial. They even said in the beginning that, you don't have to wear a mask if you're not symptomatic. They said that for so long.
In the beginning, yes. In the beginning.
Because they wanted it to spread.
Because it became evident. Now remember, you're Ralph's. Okay, you're Ralph's.
I know about my Ralphs. Thank you very much.
Positive COVID cases.
21, actually.
All right.
21.
Now you've been in
I've done the research.
Okay. You've been in that Ralph's.
Not recently, but yeah, I have.
You were at the time those people would have been symptomatic. Or not contagious, right? So they were there while you were there. They touched things, they breathe the air, you breathe the air. So you could have that virus inside of you right now.
I don't.
Okay? You haven't gotten tested.
I don't want to get tested. Nobody should have to get tested if they don't want to.
So you can have it in you right now.
I don't care.
It could be dormant in you for 2 months. Okay?
I'm pretty sure I already had it, so I don't really care.
But you don't know that. So if you went out, if you had it in your body right now, and you went outside without your mask, and you breathe on somebody else.
I don't give a fuck. I already told you all this stuff. I'm not going to go back into it again.
If they breathe your air up to 3
Everybody
hours
breathes the same air. You can't take the air out of the equation.
But if you have your mask on.
If you have your mask on, you have all those dirty particles all over your fucking face. And then you adjust the mask, and you have a glove on, you spread that shit everywhere.
Then you go home and you wash your face. Okay, you can do that. That's within your control.
They want people in here, they want people to play golf with a fucking mask on.
Wait, they who?
The government, this LA City Council, whoever the fuck is in charge, because it ain't this empty suit.
How about just your average fellow citizen? Well, that has nothing to do with the government.
Nobody asks them. Nobody asked them. We didn't get to vote on any of this shit. It's just tyranny.
It's because if people want to vote, they make
tyranny.
The wrong decision every time because they do.
It's fascism.
There's your Georgia.
If you want to support fascism, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to. I will never support government control, medical martial law. I'm not that kind of person.
This is your Georgia coming out right now.
Fuck off with your Georgia shit. I will end this fucking show.
That's fine. You can do that because that's what they do. When they don't want to hear what to say.
You say they. Right. I say they. I'm talking about the actual they. The people who are pitting everybody against each other, who are doing divide and conquer.
You sound like one of these lunatics that grows a long beard that's 2 feet long in their house and doesn't shower for 5 weeks.
What the fuck?
And is sitting there watching Fox News or whatever.
You must be watching a lot of CNN and CBS and shit right now because you are speaking like the government.
I don't watch any of these right now.
You are buying into their shit, and I'm not. I'm just not going to do it, and it's all planned.
The way I look at it is that if I can help
they're trying to take our all the privileges that we have away.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. That's the whole agenda.
In fact, right now, the government of California is trying to figure out a way to give those privileges back.
No, they're not, because they're still taking away our right to not have to wear a mask and not have to stay 6 feet away from each other. So they're trying to keep us away from each other so that we're socially distant.
What rights are they taking away? Name a right that they take away.
We don't have rights. I'm not going to say they're taking rights away because we don't have them.
Okay, so how does that even make any sense?
They're taking privileges that we have enjoyed.
So why are
they want to come into our house and take us out of our house and give us a test, and they want to have control over our own bodies.
Wait, whoa.
Well, that's what the Trace Act is. That's what the Trace Act is. I told you about that. The HR 6666 is that bill.
But that's not okay. It's a bill, but it's not a law. It probably won't ever be a law.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know how far they're going to take this shit.
Well, but you're saying
even Dr. Fauci is in fucking quarantine right now for 14 days because he
just got exposed to everybody because those people will fucking wear their masks, right?
He didn't wear a mask. Are you fucking kidding me? He's never worn a mask. I've never seen him in a fucking mask. Don't fucking say that. Don't act like he's like the best guy in this whole situation. He hasn't worn a mask the whole time. Our dude, our fucking Garcetti guy, never wears a mask when he does his little press conferences alone in a fucking room with a fucking dude or chick doing like sign language for people. He doesn't do it at home, and he tells us to stay at home all the time. He doesn't do it himself. He's always out and about. All of these fucking governors are all out and about. Gavin Newsom, Andrew Cuomo, who exposed himself to shit. Like, they don't even follow their own rules.
But so what are you saying? So they should be at home? And they should be wearing masks?
I'm saying if it was a big deal, they would be at home. If it was as big a deal as they say it is, and if that were the thing that was taking care of everything, then they would be. But there's not any real data to suggest that that's the right thing to do or that it makes any damn difference.
Well, no, because it's a whole new thing. But when you're saying something like, we don't know, but here's the best course of action.
They didn't say that. They said, hey, safer at home. You're safer at home.
They said the best course of action is to stay home.
Because they were told to by the head government. The federal government told them to do that. Fauci's people. Fauci's connected to the Wuhan Institute of Virology as well because he gave $7 million to bat research to fucking gain of function shit that shouldn't be done, that is very dangerous because a leak can occur.
Are you going off this Plandemic thing? Because please don't like that.
What?
Are you going off this Plandemic video video, this YouTube video.
I'm going off of actual information. Factual information.
From?
I originally saw it in Newsweek, but there was a research project that was linked in the article that is very full of scientific jargon. But the thing is, he had given all of his money under the Obama administration and the Trump administration. So people who are using this for the Plandemic fucking situation are still full of shit because they're doing confirmation bias and they're saying, oh, it's all Obama. And it's actually both administrations. It's not just one administration.
It's not just Obama.
It's not even to do with Trump or Obama because they don't have any control over that. In 2019, with the backing of the NIAID, the National Institutes of Health committed $3.7 million over 6 years for research that included some gain-of-function work. The program followed another $3.7 million 5-year project for collecting and studying bat coronaviruses, which ended in 2019, bringing the total to $7.4 million. And many scientists have criticized gain-of-function research, which involves manipulating viruses in the lab to explore their potential for infecting humans because it creates a risk of starting a pandemic from accidental release.
Yeah, that makes sense as well.
And that is what fucking happened. And then he said...
maybe that's what happened.
He said... we do have a pandemic unless you go with the hoax thing.
You don't know if that's the
But that's what I'm saying. But then Dr. Fauci didn't respond to requests for comment, and the NIH responded with a statement that said, in part, most emerging human viruses come from wildlife, and these represent a significant threat to public health and biosecurity in the U.S. and globally, as demonstrated by the SARS epidemic of 2002-2003 and the current COVID-19 pandemic. Scientific research indicates that there is no evidence that suggests the virus was created in a laboratory. Of course, they're going to say that because they don't want to be put into that position. And then the first part began in 2014.
My thinking is that if I'm going to dip into your waters a little bit,
the real waters. Okay.
No, my thinking would be that no, it was not created in a lab, but it might have been being studied in a lab and might have gotten out that way.
Well, that's what the government says.
Right.
That's what the government officials.
You're saying created in a lab and escaping from a lab are two different things.
But there is a situation in which the government, for a very long period of time, has been using laboratories and doing research since 2000. And one before 9/11 and the anthrax thing. They had the anthrax. They released that. That was basically proven. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. You just got to keep your head on straight. Go outside, take some, get some exercise, come back in. I don't know why the fuck. If I were in charge, I will tell you this. I would not be opening gyms first. I'm telling you that much. Or second, or whenever the fuck they're going to do it. And massage parlors. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to open that shit until last. That's the last thing I would open. Even after movie theaters, even after concert arenas and shit. No. I would wait for hand, like physical contact shit until the very end.
They don't care about those old people. They look at it and say, well, this thing has a 99% survival rate, so why should we not wear a mask in Trader Joe's? Because what the fuck do we care? I'm healthy. I don't know, I may have it on me. I don't care because it's 99%.
But if you're afraid of everything, then you get nothing done. Like, that's the thing is, you will die eventually. Everyone dies.
Yes, people do die. 99% of the people will live through this. But if you
doesn't mean we don't. It doesn't mean people who are against this stuff don't care. They just care about their.
They just care about themselves.
They care about the ability for other people to function in a society more.
But they don't, because the thing is that if they bring
I
virus
do.
home to their family,
I personally do.
If they bring that virus home to somebody else,
not everybody has family with them.
But it doesn't matter. You are out and about.
It does matter because you are literally saying that tattletales, that we have snitches get rewards and like people can do whatever they want.
No, because what you're saying is
they can tell on your neighbor, just
your rights
do the Nazi thing of
that your rights are more important
I'm saying our rights, not my rights.
No, it has nothing to do with
our human rights.
Your argument has nothing to do with our.
Yes, it does,
Okay,
because
it has
you have the right to freedom of movement. That's what you have a right to as a human being. If you cannot go outside without putting something on your face, you don't have the right to freedom of movement.
Yes, you do.
It has been impeded. Your progress has been impeded.
If you want to function as a member of society, then you follow the rules.
The rules are made by people who put you in this position in the first place. The rules are made for the people who sent us to war in Iraq. The rules were made from the people who started 9/11. And the rules were made for people who are literally killing people overseas right now with our money. They're literally killing people.
That makes no sense.
Wars are happening still. There's no ceasefire for a pandemic. There's always a war.
Listen. Does the person shopping next to you in Ralph's start a war? Did they send anybody overseas to kill them? Did they do anything to oppress you? No.
But our oppressors are the problem, not us.
Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your responsibility.
The oppressor put us in this position, and now we are going against each other, and I don't like it. We should not be putting throwing each other under the bus.
Elle, you're an oppressor.
I'm not an oppressor.
Yes, no, you are. You're an oppressor. Because if you bring that virus...
Don't fucking tell me what to do, and don't fucking guilt me into doing shit. That makes me not want to do it even more.
See, that's the thing, is that when people hear something counter to their narrative...
It's not a narrative. Freedom of movement is a thing. It's a fucking thing that humans have.
No one's restricting your freedom of movement.
Yes, they are. They're saying you have to wear this to go here, you have to do this to do... And then when does it end? It's temperature checks, it's contact tracing, it's ID, connected to vaccines and shit. That's the world I don't want to live in. None of us want to live in this fucking world, and we should be resisting it.
You know what? Then don't. That's also your option.
I don't. I don't acknowledge it. And to not acknowledge it is not to oppress anyone else. It's to acknowledge our ability to move around without anyone. They are. If they're going into your fucking house and they're trying to get you to test something. To get you tested.
Someone knocked on your door and came in your house?
If that happens, that's what's going. That's how it ends. It ends with tyranny begins and ends with us being fucked.
Let's deal with the reality of the world.
The reality of the world is that we didn't have anything like this 2 months ago, 3 months ago. None of this shit existed, and now we have to deal with it. And now we're in a dystopia. And now we're in the dystopia that they've created, and now we're going to merge with AI. They're going to merge us with AI, and they're going to oppress the robots after us.
Now we're talking about what could happen. Let's talk about
That's not what could happen. That's what they're planning. It's what the cryptocurrency chip is about. It's what everything's about.
Elle, you're going. How long's your beard right now? How long is your beard?
All right, we're going to wrap everything up because it's hot as hell, and I have to pee. And this has been wonderful, as always.
Look,
I love you so much.
I'm going to be dead serious right now.
You've called me ignorant several times, but that's fine.
I know, and you are,
You're clearly brainwashed by a lot of sources.
I want you to hear me, okay? I care about you. I want you to be okay.
I am okay.
Listen. No, you're not. I want the people
yes,
around
I am.
you to be okay. No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
I want the people around you to be okay.
Everyone is okay. And if people die, they die. That's the fucking world we live in. There's plenty of things to die from. There's shit that's being, put out there in our air that we don't even know about. In our water that we don't even know about.
Here's what I want you to do. Okay, please.
No, I won't.
Listen.
If it's doing what you tell me, no.
Don't go onto YouTube for a full week. Okay, just don't look at it. I
look at other things on YouTube, entertainment shit.
Don't.
Don't tell me what to fucking do. I don't tell you what to do. I don't give you shit about anything that you do. I don't say anything about your point of view.
You might say, but you can't because you can't argue my point of view. My point of view is very rational.
Your point of view is not rational. Mine is rational. Freedom of movement is rational.
No, yours is not rational at all. It's not.
Yes, it is.
It's actually
you literally are gaslighting.
No, I'm not.
I have information about everything that I'm talking about. I don't just speak out of my ass.
You have a narrative, and then you.
It's not. Everybody has a narrative. They have a narrative. The Twitter has a narrative. Social media has a narrative. Everybody's got a fucking narrative.
And
Give me a break.
Is that okay for them to...
We have a narrative compared to other people about our own lives. Like, we are never the villain in our own lives. And we can be the worst person in the world, but we have justifications for our behavior. That's human reality.
I'll admit that in a minute.
I'll admit that I've been a villain, but most people wouldn't because they don't see it that way. They don't see themselves as the problem. But we are the problem.
Right, but
and the giant meteor should come and wipe us out.
But you're not seeing yourself as the problem right now. Right?
I'm a problem in many ways, but not in this way. I'm not trying to be a solution or a problem. I'm trying to resist the fake solution presented to me. That's not based on data because we don't have any complete data. We don't even have complete data, and you're giving me shit about going outside and shit. I don't fucking care. We have to go outside. Eventually. We have immune systems we have to build up. We can't stay in our house forever because we'll die when we go outside because we won't have an immune system. So we'll be more susceptible to that. I don't understand them touching the podium when they're telling us about public health information. Why are you touching a fucking podium? Everybody's touching the podium. Everybody's touching the slow spread thing, the sheet that they had. Everybody touched that shit. I'm like, what are you doing?
And now look what's happening. They're all sick.
They're dumb. They don't even do what they say they're doing. Whatever, I give it.
Right, exactly. So where's that?
They're hypocrites. Everybody in charge are hypocrites. So we should be on our own. Anyway, bye-bye. A lot's happened since we've been gone from the podcast, but we had another police brutality event happen on May 25th with this gentleman, George Floyd, whom I'm sure everyone who's listening knows about by now. Even babies know about this guy.
Yeah. No, don't forget.
Yeah. And so we've had a lot of protests lately. BLM is back, Black Lives Matter, which were a big deal a few years back when there was a big, massive police brutality event that was captured of Eric Garner, like the last one that I can think of that was really huge. And then his sister, unfortunately, had to go to the hospital and had some heart problems. And then didn't end up making it out because the cops were there, and a lot of people alleged that, because she wasn't allowed out to see her family, that she was, enclosed, and she was like trying really hard to go after the NYPD, like harder than anyone else had before, I think. That she may have been murdered. Like, some people were alleging that. So that's another situation. And then, so what happened after this is that there was a lot of attacks on Trump because Trump put out a tweet that said that the rioters would encourage shooting, basically threatened a bunch of people on Twitter, and then Twitter left it up but gave a warning, which I thought was, I'm not Twitter's fan at all, obviously. I have my issues with Jack, obviously, and censorship and all of that. But this is not censorship. This was him having his tweet hidden, but not hidden, but like where you could click on it to view it because it's in the public interest. So that's what happened with this tweet. Then he had to be like, oh, but I didn't mean it. Well, yeah, you did, because you said the National Guard was going to come in. Come on, you full of shit. So he's, clearly lying to try to make it not a big deal. But anyway, after that, he was public enemy of number one, which is good for the agenda. So the agenda right now includes, among other things, there's so many things that they're doing right now that is very obvious. One, we have COVID-19, which has not gone away because people are still being Karens about it. So while everything's going on, they can compartmentalize and be like, oh, but we can protest. That's no problem. We're putting our lives on the line for something good. But then at the same time, you're giving shit to people not wearing masks out, like walking. That's fucking stupid. You're fucking stupid. Shut up. So you're a hypocrite. So, and then even like the public health officials, because there was 1,200 of them who signed a letter saying that Black Lives Matter protests were totally fine in this climate, and all that shit that they said about staying inside, forget about it. Go ahead, fight for your rights, and then die maybe. We don't care. So it's just a lot of hoopla over that. And then there's the whole thing with the vaccine. Those are being fast-tracked right now, the trials, while everybody's distracted by all this other stuff. That has always happened. I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but it has always happened. It's never been dormant. It just wasn't in the news. And similar thing with the rules of the lockdown, the rules of the masks wearing in public and everything, with certain governors and mayors deciding, you have to do this. And if you don't do this, I'm going to tell on your business. I'm going to shut you down. I'm not telling your business. I'm just going to shut you down if you don't do what you're supposed to do, abide by the guidelines. Yet, you go out into a fucking protest with no mask on, right next to people.
Right.
And it's like, make it make sense. Again, you can't be mad about everything at the same time. There's cognitive dissonance to concern yourself with. And they're finding more information that would lead you to believe, or they are trying to lead us to believe. Who knows what they, what kind of shit is true or not about what they're saying. But what they being China, they being the people in charge of disseminating information, have said is that it could have gone back as far as October, and some people were saying August for the first infections, which is hilarious, because if it turns out that Jeffrey Epstein had COVID-19, I give up, because already George Floyd had COVID-19, so that would just be insane.
Yes.
COVID-19 didn't kill Jeffrey Epstein. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to say that before anyone else. I don't think it makes sense for a restaurant to require masks in the first place, because that's just a lot of touching your face, honestly, which you're not supposed to do in the first place. But you get up,
the whole point is
you get up, you have to put your...
drink.
Exactly. You eat, then you get up, and you have to go to the bathroom, and you put the mask back on, and then you take it off, and it's like multiple times that you have to take on and off the mask, which is going to hurt you in the end. It's going to be more harmful than helpful. And I think that they need to be really lenient on that, especially since they don't do the same thing themselves. They are very hypocritical, the people who are telling us what to do. And for one, not even just Trump, but a lot of the people behind the scenes who were, heralding all of these views and everything from the WHO and CDC, who are very complicit and corrupt organizations in the first place, so why should we believe them? But they don't even do what they say they're supposed to do. So we're supposed to do. They don't do it themselves. And then they said 15 days to slow the spread, and then people waited 15 days, and then that never happened. And then it's 30 days, and then it's whatever how many days it is. They just kept making it up as they went along, and then left us in the dust. It's multiple groups happening at the same time. I think they do communicate with each other in certain instances, because a lot of groups just specifically, if you look up their relationship to each other, you will find a lot of similarities. You will find a lot of where they intersect, basically, in their ideology and everything. And so it is a big club, as they say, and we're not in it. But it's multiple organizations working in tandem at the same time in different ways, on different parts of the agenda. So there's the transhumanist agenda, the microchips, the everything we talked about before on the podcast, the Bill Gates shit that's going on, the eugenics agenda, population control. Now it's what is the PC term. That's him, Rockefeller Foundation, a lot of other foundations I can't recall, but they have a lot of the same goals, and they're working together, but separately, if that makes sense. Yes. This is why the Bilderberg meeting had the post-truth world a couple of years ago at their on the agenda, because that's where we live now. That's what they've created. They create so much disinformation. They create all these... even when they had the Event 201 exercise, the pandemic exercise on October 18, 2019 from Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and World Economic Forum put on at the Johns Hopkins University's Health Security, whatever the fuck it's called, at a hotel in New York City. They had an event where they pretended we had a big coronavirus thing, a novel coronavirus, what a shock, that enveloped the world and caused massive destruction and eventually killed $60 million. Excuse me, that was a Freudian slip. Million people. I was thinking like them for a second. Profits over people. But they even said, like, one of them was like, oh, it was just 60 million. It could have been worse. You know, like, that's nothing to them. And it was World Bank executives and stuff, and the CDC, Chinese CDC guy, the American CDC guy. And I'm getting to a point here where, they did a whole section about disinformation and how there's going to be all these conspiracies about what the virus is and how it got leaked and out of the lab. And they said all this stuff. They said stuff about censoring the internet, which they have already done on YouTube, and they mentioned YouTube, I believe, or Google. And we're saying we got to crack down on this, crack down on that, and we have to have PPE, blah, blah, blah. They were saying all this shit before, and it started in Brazil, spread to China, and then the world. I mean, and then it affected travel. They have 5 different segments. I recommend everybody look it up. I'm going to leave it again in the description. Again, I've talked about it ad nauseum, so I don't want to talk about it too much now. I'm just doing a recap of what it was for those who missed it. And then also there's the whole situation with Bill Gates being the authority figure right now, even though he doesn't have any medical degree or a college degree for that matter. They keep moving the goalposts. Those change every day. And now it's
look, that's why
we're going to be like this till the vaccine, you know, like that's it. I don't know how far I go with the no mask thing, because I just haven't had to do it yet. But there have been times when I thought to myself, how far could I take my resistance? I mean, how far logically can I take this? And I keep coming back to, I'm not going to do it. And I don't know what's going to force me to do it. I mean, this is June 15th, so who knows what's going to happen in July. Hopefully nothing. But I hope to see no change in that, because that's who I am. I'm not going to be someone who submits to every demand of my chosen authority. I didn't even choose this authority. I don't elect people. I don't vote. So you have no authority over me. I see a lot of complications from this, a lot of health complications coming from this. A lot of people are going to have a lot of problems, and I'm going to be like, you know what? I don't want to be I told you so, but I told you so. Like, this is not something we should just be putting up to whoever at the WHO. Like, they shouldn't get to decide how we're going to live our lives. They just shouldn't. No. That should be our choice. Shout out to you, Whitney Webb. Thanks for the recommendation for the book We by Eugene Yamyatin, who was born in Russia, moved to France, but he wrote this book, which was the inspiration for what we saw in 1984 and Brave New World, and a couple other ones, including one by Ayn Rand, where it's a dystopian future. Everybody's numbers and everybody's transparent. They have to live in class houses and show everything in their lives, and they get a little bit of time every day for personal hours, which includes sexual relations, which is behind the curtains at least. I guess you at least get that privacy, but it's only a couple hours every day. And then everything else is regimented, and everybody does everything at the same time somehow in uniform. So it's conformity times a million, and it's what he envisioned of what would come of the Soviet Union if things went really to the nth degree, totalitarian wise. So it's a really good novel. I'm 4 chapters in. It reads really well for 1921 or 1920. I'm not really sure exactly which year it was. They aren't really sure either, the people who do the scholarly stuff. But I guess it was 1921. I would guess 1921. That's my guess anyway. But it's a really good book so far. I found the PDF. I'll link to it below in the description so you guys can read it. I just found it on Twitter. So sometimes Twitter threads work out for you. Sometimes comment sections on YouTube work out for you. I find a lot of stuff there. found the stuff about the guy behind Bilderberg, the meetings, the guy who came up with the whole thing, Joseph Rodinger, whatever his name is, I don't know what his name is. But anyway, it's some guy from Holland. Anyway, that is going to wrap everything up. Poland, he's from Poland.
Thank you.
Anyway, Poland or Holland, I can't remember. One of them is from Holland. But yeah, I would say Scandinavia. But anyway, no matter what it is, I mean, it's what it is. And then they don't do it themselves in certain cities and stuff. Looking at you, Eric Garcetti, with your not mask wearing, and Gavin Newsom, you not having a mask on. Cuomo, with you not having a mask on and hugging a dude in Georgia, where you shouldn't even been in the first place. But, because we've done our research, because we don't believe everything that the media says, and we look up things for ourselves, individual studies, actual scientific research that's done. So what happened is then he doesn't have really a good response to that. And then she says something about like, oh, we should take stuff about anti-vax stuff off of the internet, off of Facebook. Do you think that that Zuckerberg should take this stuff down? Da, 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 da. And he says, oh, no, we should let it up. Da, da, da. I don't know what he says. He's just mumbling and not mumbling. He's like just rambling on. And then, basically she's just like, hey, let's just destroy all speech online, and crack down on people. Which is exactly what they did in Event 201, Segment 5, which I've told... Segment 4, which I told you about. The misinformation, disinformation part of the event, which he, again, put on with the help of World Economic Forum and Johns Hopkins University, which served as the host. The health security, whatever the hell it is. Which was actually... The host was Tom Inglesby, who was also involved in Dark Winter, what a coinkydink, from 2001, which was an exercise that led to the actual anthrax attacks after 9/11. Fun times. What was that after 9/11? It was in 2001. So anyways, so there's that, and then there's a document that I wanted to mention. I can't believe I haven't mentioned this yet. I feel like I have, but maybe I haven't. Which is the Rockefeller Foundation's document called Lockstep, which is in another document titled Scenarios for a Brighter... Is that right? That's not right. For a future technology and international development, which is published in 2010, May 2010, I think. And it is Lockstep, which is the program that involves a pandemic happening and top-down government control over everything. You have to wear face masks everywhere, face coverings, mandatory face coverings, body temperature checks in communal spaces. You got biometric ID will come about. The other thing, lockdowns, obviously, is a thing. They don't say social distancing, but yeah, like that's it. And then the technology that will arise from it, like biometric ID and everything, and a device that can sense whether someone has antisocial intent. What the hell? I'm not gonna survive this dystopia, man, because I'm antisocial as fuck. Aren't we supposed to be antisocial? Whatever. Oh, antisocial dissent, not intent. What the hell? It's dissent. Like, oh my gosh, I hate the government, so, punish me. But anyway, and then we have civil unrest in certain countries where it's like dictatorial, which is going to be everywhere, really. And people are going to at first be eager to comply with these rules and do everything that they're supposed to do to keep themselves alive. And eventually, a few years later, a long time later, in their summation, in their prediction, they will be like, hey, this is weird. Like, why is this not going away? Because it's not supposed to go away. Because it's just like the Patriot Act. This is supposed to keep going forever and ever. It's supposed to be an escalation. This is not a one-time deal where it's like, oh, we all have to wear masks for like a couple of months, 3 months, tops. And then we're back to normal. No. they're going to do that until the vaccine is ready, and then they're going to push the vaccine on the people who don't want to wear masks and want to go back to work and everything. I mean, hopefully they're already at work by that point, but they're going to push them on. They're going to be like, hey, if you get this vaccine, you don't ever have to wear a mask again. You don't have to worry about a mask knee or anything like that. And then they're going to be like, okay, sure. And trade away some of their autonomy of their bodies for that instead of the security, instead of their freedom for security, which is what they did in the first place when they put the mask on. So I'm not saying if you have a mask on, you're not free, or you're just doing as you're told or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the mandatory requirement to have a mask is not right. It's just not right. And it's a shame that if you say that in some circles, they'll be like, oh my gosh, you don't care about anyone, you're selfish, da-da-da. So there's that. And so, yeah, lockstep is not going to end well. And it was supposed to be in 2012 in that document. So they were planning that for 2 years later. But I guess they had to get through the Syria thing first. They care about themselves. Everyone just cares about themselves. But I'm so selfish for going outside without a mask on. Meanwhile, everybody's trying to kill each other. And totally normal about it. And like New York has shootings more than ever now. There's unrest everywhere. And it's not even to do with the pandemic. That's what's insane about it. It's other things that are distracting things that seem very, very important. And they are to a lot of people. And they are important. Like police brutality is super important. Very important to get rid of. But at the same time, putting it as a racial thing rather than an institutionalized kind of like it's kind of like coming from Israel, really, because that's where the training has been done at the IDF. I'm not wearing a mask yet. I've been very true to my word on that. If anyone sees me in a mask, it ain't me. Because I don't even have one. I don't have a bandana. I don't have anything. And I don't have any problem with anyone who does. And if I see people walking around with them on, it's disappointing, but I'm not surprised. And that's how I feel about it. I feel that also that there's a lot of hypocrisy, as I mentioned, about governors and mayors not doing what they're telling us to do. And then now, you got Nancy Pelosi introducing masks into Congress and everything. And luckily, oh my gosh, Twitter is not real life. So when I see certain comments about, fine $500 for not wearing a mask in public or whatever the fuck they want to say. Like, I know these are just random ass people, probably not even people some of the time. So it makes me feel more at ease that I know that there's a real world out there, and no one in real life, in my interactions with people, which have been very few for the last few months, but whenever I go out on my walks and stuff, no one ever tells me, put a mask on. Why are you not wearing a mask? No one. Of course, I don't go into any stores or do anything that I'm not supposed to do. Although yesterday, I did step my toe into a store just to, get a rush. Because that's where I'm at now. And nobody cared. It was behind, like, a cooler of drinks. And it was just like, ha! I disobeyed the law for a second. Not the law, but like the rules. So that was kind of fun. I thought about going into the Hollywood Highland Center, but this dude was already there and smoking, and I was like, nah, I don't want to smell that. Oh my gosh, there's so many smells. I mean, the pot smell is overwhelming, and then there's cigarettes everywhere. These people with masks on, they're smoking cigarettes. I'm like, that's not gonna help you. But it's not about you, it's about your neighbor, I get it. But you're still giving them secondhand smoke, but alright, whatever. So you can't really say that too much when you're smoking. They crack down on the misinformation, which is not really misinformation, but discussion of vaccines and hydroxychloroquine and all that stuff. They say stuff about hydroxychloroquine that the government, and maybe not the government, but the society, not society, media, the doctors, behind the scenes who are making money off the vaccines and stuff, and remdesivir and all that, Gilead Sciences, all that shit. Like, the big pharma people are not going to be okay with this being promoted, because it's not right to do it now. So, like, Fauci promoted it in 2005 or something. I don't remember. But some year back in the day, he was saying hydroxychloroquine could be as good as a vaccine or something like that. And then you have, like, people immediately see something, they hear something stupid, and then they're like, oh, this is right-wing bullshit. Because they believe in this, they're right-wing, so we can't listen to anything that they say. Because no one on the right wing has anything good to say, no one on the left wing has anything good to say to the right-wing people. It's just all division, sniping at each other. So it's really annoying. So I guess I had to mention that happened. Like, it's the elephant in the room. Like, that, all these things keep coming out of certain trials and studies and stuff, and, like, people saying that certain things work, but you can't believe them, take them seriously because of what they believe in other areas of their life. That informs that area in so many ways as well. So Christian Science is not, like, usually melded together that way. I don't even know if she's a Christian. She believes some interesting things. I don't know her name. I'm not going to name her. I don't know her name. I forgot it. But yeah, that's interesting. And it's a doctor, and we're supposed to trust doctors and studies and science and all that shit. But the thing is, science can be bought. Every industry in this world can be bought and is connected to pedophiles. Because as we have already gone over with Bill Gates, he was connected to Jeffrey Epstein after he was convicted of trafficking a minor, or whatever the hell the charge was. Child prostitution, such a fake ass thing. But anyway, then we got, like, Elon Musk in a picture with Ghislaine Maxwell, but then he says he was photobombed, and Marvin Minsky was mentioned, who's a scientist who was connected to Jeffrey Epstein, was mentioned as somebody who sexually abused minors, allegedly. So, there's all kinds of names. Like, he knew a lot of people. He was a eugenicist himself, so that probably was a good opener with Bill Gates, who's most likely a eugenicist, the way he talks about population control. And so they probably had a lot in common. They had a lot to talk about. And then there's all that whole thing with Bill Gates' employee, somebody who lived at his estate, worked as an engineer for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And he was found with CP, or what I like to call child exploitation photos, because I don't believe a child can consent to being in porn. So I don't believe in child porn. So anyway, there were a bunch of images on his computer, and I only read one article about that, of course, because it was squashed right after that, and we don't know if he even registered to be a sex offender after that. But that was something that happened that Bill Gates never talks about, nobody ever asks about. Nobody ever asked him about Jeffrey Epstein. When they did, he said he just knew a lot of rich people, and that, he was trying to get in touch with a lot of rich people. Rich people. You don't need Jeffrey Epstein to find rich people. You're rich. But I think I already talked about this. But anyway, I'm just bringing it back for everyone to remember. Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, probably not a pedophile. I don't know. Probably just into really young girls and jealous of Jeffrey Epstein from the looks of his quotes. And didn't really look too much into that, I guess. And then there's other people. Prince Andrew, who's still somehow walking around like nothing's going on. And then Jean-Luc Brunel. Leslie Wexner, the head of the snake, allegedly, according to Maria Farmer. And Naomi Campbell, who keeps getting mentioned in documents from her birthday party. 30th birthday party? I don't know. But Yeah, she hung out with some questionable people. She has a questionable looking island herself. If you look it up, you'll know what I mean. It's really disturbing to me how normalized this dystopia has become. Nobody even realizes they're in a dystopia when they're in it. It's insane. Like, lately, Fauci, brought up goggles. Like, we're gonna have to wear goggles now? And a mask? Just give us a hazmat suit already. Like, not even go outside, just lay in bed all day and then die when it's time. But what I'm saying, basically, is love each other. Fuck hate. Fuck fear. Stop being afraid of everything. The point is, the major thing you want to remember, it's not nice, it's not fun, but everyone dies. It's true. No matter if you die from the flu, from corona, from a heart attack, from lymphoma, from an aneurysm, breast cancer, whatever, you're going to die. That cannot be stopped. Do whatever you can to make sure you can live, I guess. Stay away from people if they're coughing or sneezing. That's just, common sense. Don't cough and sneeze on someone. I've literally never done that. So I didn't think when we got into this that we would have to be told not to cough and sneeze on people or be held from doing that by doing something as stupid. Not stupid, I shouldn't say that. But as severe as wearing a mask, which has not yet been proven to work in all scenarios. There's just not enough data to come to that conclusion. We're not going to get into it, but there's no data either way, in my opinion. In the research that I've done, I can't find any reliable data, because when you look at certain studies, like cluster trials in hospitals with HCWs, hospital care workers, that's a specific type of profession. So it's not the same as regular people walking down the street, walking to businesses and stuff. So I wouldn't put those in the same category. There's some people who like to, conflate the two and make the study suit their bias, like confirmation bias, basically. That's what they do. They confirm their bias with these studies, and they say one way or the other, this is what this says, this is what this says. And we just don't know yet. And even if we did know, mandatory anything is just not a good idea. It just has not been a good thing throughout history to have. I just don't want us to turn into Nazis. No, straight up, turn somebody in because they're not wearing a mask. That's insane to me. Everybody's a Karen. We don't need more Karens. Let the Karens be Karens. If they have names that are Karen. If I had the name Karen, I would change it. That's just me, but, you do you. My dead sister's name is Karen. She's not even my sister. My father's first daughter's name is Karen. She's dead. She's been dead forever. She died of pneumonia. Huh. How about that? She died of pneumonia when she was a young child. 2 years old. Maybe less than 2. And thank goodness she didn't have to see all the Karens, is all I'm saying. I'm going to leave on that. Fuck the Karens. All right. Live your life. Love each other. They take orders. The healthcare administrators in the hospitals do take orders from above. Probably part of the pharmaceutical industrial complex is what I would think. People possibly related to Bill Gates. Possibly not. I don't know. But people who take orders from someone else who is above them. So it's one person doing this for the other person who's doing this for the other person. And that's pretty much how the world works, I believe. People who are against all of these restrictions don't want to be told what to do with our own bodies. That's what it basically comes down to. Our body, our choice. If that applies I mean, as much as you want to like get upset about like the false equivalency or whatever, but it's not really, because you're saying that a woman can decide what she's going to do with her own body between her doctor and herself. We want to have that option between our doctors and ourselves.
Absolutely.
About what we're going to do with our bodies, and if we're going to take a vaccine or if we're going to not take a vaccine, and if we're going to build up our immune system and actually fight this the natural way and figure out how to minimize contact without ruining our lives, like totally upending our lives, which is what we didn't have the chance to do because our holier than thou government, state and local, decided to just shut everything down. And then the federal government can be like, hey, but we didn't do it. But yeah, it's going to be like that with the vaccine, because they'll say, oh, it's going to be on the state and local level. And then the state and local level is going to be like, well, we have all this power. We're going to keep grabbing all these rights and stuff from these people. So let's mandatory vaccines, everybody. If you want to go back to work, you got to get a vaccine. If you want to go to the airport, you got to get a vaccine. That's how it's going to be. They're already talking about mandatory testing at airports whenever you go somewhere. So obviously, that's already been in place, the testing. So the testing, it's like masks first, and testing, then the vaccine. And then that doesn't even change anything because you still have to wear the mask. So it's just the new abnormal.
We, one another, are all carrying something that could kill us. It is just so...
1% of the time.
Yes. 1% of the time.
It could kill us.
If you came down with it, which is, we don't know what percentage of the time that's happening.
And we don't even know the actual numbers because the PCR tests are so unreliable that are being used and flouted as something that's supposed to show the case rate. We don't know what the case rate is. We don't know if it's high or low. We don't know.
Right. And so since you mentioned that, I will say one of my friends reposted a Fox News breakdown of numbers of the percentages. Mm-hmm. And because I did not want to create a hailstorm for myself on Facebook, I only posted it on Instagram. And I did cut off the fact that it was from Fox News because they were CDC numbers. It said CDC, and I know most people hate Fox. I know some of the listeners today don't all hate Fox, because my dad said that he was going to repost this, and I think that he has a lot of Fox fans. I'm not a fan of Fox News. I think that, they're as hysterical as anybody else is right now. They just have a different way of doing it. But anytime you're actually trying to work with the math and the numbers in a way that the common person can understand, that is journalism. Yes. That is real journalism. And the CDC is still considered to be a trusted source. We don't have anything better really right now. So we have to go with the numbers that they're reporting, even though there's many, many reports that it's being over-reported to start with to the CDC, and that the CDC is encouraging people to report things as COVID deaths that are not COVID deaths.
As Dr. Birx said in the very beginning with the coronavirus task force, that was what the initiative was, to report as many things as COVID related as possible. Hell, friggin' George Floyd had COVID, for fuck's sake. Like, they put those two together, those two initiatives. It's crazy. And then, it's comorbidities. Nobody talks about the real reason, not because of Trump, not because of the government necessarily. I mean, obviously they're ultimately involved, but the reason that the U.S. was so attacked by this virus is because we are an unhealthy population. We have the most unhealthy people in the world because we've been sold all these supersized meals, all these, fast food, all this like GMO shit. Like we're poisoned on a daily basis. So of course we are going to be the most obese nation, the most unhealthy nation that will have the most comorbidities. My goodness. Yeah. More than anyone else. What I liken this whole mess to is just Patriot Act 2.0. So we already have the Patriot Act. Everybody's okay with that. All the bipartisans in Congress, whatever. They love the Patriot Act. They continue to support it. Everybody loves it. Not us, but it doesn't matter what we think. So that got rid of habeas corpus. That got rid of, the Fourth Amendment is virtually non-existent now. And, spying on citizens for their own good, for terrorist
Right.
reasons, but you never caught a terrorist.
And we wanted to give all those rights up after 9/11. You know, yeah, of
That's
course.
partly why 9/11 was executed.
People did, well, yes. I mean, that's definitely a matter of some debate. But airport security, I mean...
Well, it was all planned out in 1994 from Joe Biden. He literally said, and I will put it in here in the show notes, he is on record on C-SPAN, of all places, saying that he basically created the Patriot Act in 1994. He created what would be the framework that they would use in 2000 and whatever it was. But...
So if Joe Biden is happily taking credit for it, then he's only taking credit for it that he was trying to plan against the terrible day when something might happen, right? Just like the people who planned
after the fact, by the way. He was explaining this. I don't think it was 2000 something, but he explained this after way after 1994. He explained in an interview that's what he did, that he contributed to the Patriot Act, and he was proud of it, apparently. So he wanted to get rid of terrorists, and it was I think it was in Congress, counterterrorism.
But for those of us who haven't read the Patriot Act, what specifically does it do?
It allows NSA and CIA and all of these other agencies to collect information on citizens that should be private, which is what I'm referring to at the moment, because that's what they're going to do with this initiative that they have in place, which they have already cataloged in lockstep in great detail, that they're going to have biometrics at airports and they're going to get all this information. Everything will be retinal scans and that sort of thing, which is why the masks won't really matter, because they're going to do it through the eyes. That's how they're going to do the facial recognition now. They're already working, several companies are working on it. And there's a good website for you guys to keep track of all of the information that comes out in different countries across the world, which is biometricupdate.com, which is where I go to get the most information, most up-to-date information on what's going on with the biometric agenda, which is part of Agenda 2030, which is a UN agenda, very similar to Agenda 221, but it's the new one where everybody's going to be happy, and it's going to be a utopia, and we're all going to know everything about everybody, and it'll be fine. And social credit
Which it obviously isn't going to be fine.
You know, and
It's
antisocial media, like antisocial, like dissent and stuff will be taken care of, and we'll have predictive crime, which is what is already happening in LA. At the LAPD through Palantir. Going back to the medical profession, I just want to interject real quick. Sorry. That they recommended smoking back in the day. What the fuck? Why are we looking to medical professionals when they didn't even get smoking right? But there are ways to make sure that you're as healthy as possible. And also being exposed to dirt is good to build up your immune system. And that's another reason that this mask initiative and this initiative to protect yourself from the environment, like natural things in the environment, is going to be detrimental to our health ultimately, because we will not have the same immune system that we had in 1990s and 2000s. So be careful, be safe. Think for yourself. One of my issues with the whole, masks and being fearful of going out in public and that sort of thing is these young children who have just been introduced to the world are going to grow up in a very different world than we did, and will have significantly worse immune systems, mainly. So they will be more prone to disease if they don't get the vaccine, which is probably just going to solve everything, right? So that's what they say. In the very beginning of the pandemic and everything, when it was here in California, but it wasn't as big a deal. It was the Diamond Princess, cruise ship and everything happening there, and we knew that it was in California, but it wasn't like this fearful thing yet. Somebody in my office came down sick. We got sick multiple times. A lot of people got sick, like, over a short amount of time, like, one after the other, where it was like, what's going around right now? We all just thought it was like the flu. And then I got sick later, but this person got sick, and they were told to wear a mask, like, just to cover their face and everything. And by the way, they probably should have, because they were sneezing in people's direction, like coughing, and they probably gave it to me, to be honest, because they were next to me, and they were coughing. I don't know if they were coughing or sneezing, but they did it in my direction without covering their mouth, which I hate, which I hated before all of this. And even when I got sick, I would go outside and I would go outside to sneeze or go outside to cough, because I knew that everybody was getting sick and I was being very careful.
Guaranteed you're going to get whatever they got.
But I got it early. Thankfully, it was like February, end of February. I had it for a couple of weeks. I couldn't speak for a few days. And I still had to work. I mean, I didn't have to work, but I went to work because, well, the first day I had a fever, so I went home early, way early. I got there and I didn't feel well, and then I went home. And then the next time I came back and I just didn't have much of a voice, and I had to have one because I work in a customer service kind of thing where I deal with selling things. So I was selling tickets, which won't be happening anytime soon, to the LA Phil. And then I had to just adjust to that, and it was just something that everybody was doing. Like the bosses, like it wasn't a culture where you're not allowed to be here sick. Like people were there sick. They were giving it to each other. So we just thought that it was the flu or whatever. It was not even a concern of anything else. But, we learned our lesson pretty quick. And then we found out quickly that it was a pandemic and it was going to really mess up our business. But at first, what's funny is that we had a meeting with my boss, my head boss, and my head boss in the meeting was like, you know what, this will blow over. This is nothing. Don't worry about it. They're going to be concerned, but don't worry about it. We're doing social distancing. So we did the social distancing thing, which was almost impossible in my office because there's a lot of human contact, and we didn't know that until then. That has to be done to get orders done and everything. So there was a whole process that we had to go through. And then people just kept getting really upset on the phone. They were like, why are you even open and all this stuff? It was really, really bad. And then eventually we stopped working. And then we were gonna come back the next day. I think we went home one day early through the main boss, like the boss of my boss. He came and he's like, shut it down. Or he not him, this other guy came who speaks for him, who's basically the supervisor of everything. So he came in and he's like, shut it down. We can't do this anymore. We're going to go home. But anyway, that was that. So getting into that, but we had all these specifications of what we were supposed to do. We couldn't do everything, so we shut it down, and it wasn't working, and people were scared on the phone. So then it was at that time where we're kind of gonna come in the next day, and they laid off a lot of people and didn't lay me off before this, and those people were laid off right before the what was it called, the shutdown, the stay at home thing. So we got in, and then we got out because then Gavin Newsom came out and he was like, everything's shut down. That was March, early March, mid-March. And then I was like, well, I'm out of a job. And then as close as it kept getting closer and closer to November. And I was like, I haven't heard from my boss in a long time. I don't even know how many of my coworkers are alive right now because I've worked with a lot of elderly people in this business. And I don't know if my business will survive that I'm in, and fundraising, which I'm in. I'm hoping that comes back. And it hasn't happened remotely. I'm one of those jobs where they just don't care. They're just like, fuck it. Just put them on unemployment. And then they just don't do remote work. So puts us in a pickle. So some other people have been able to do things, but I've just kind of been unemployed for a long time and trying to figure out the future with the limited information that I have about it. Well, actually, it's not that limited. I have a lot of information about it, but it is very overwhelming because day by day it's getting more dystopic because this vaccine, and they're already talking about the travel, like the pass that you're going to have. And Clear was already ready for that, because Clear has been in the airports for a long time, and that's a biometrically kind of new kind of technology that uses your, what does it use? Some kind of data from you, and you know, allows you to get on the plane or whatever. But you don't need to do it. They made it so that if you use this system, that you'll get perks, like you'll get ahead in line in the security or whatever. The fact that we even have such a ridiculous security process with the TSA, I mean, I can't imagine, because I never flew before, so I don't know what it was like pre 9/11, but it had to be better than it is now. And how many terrorists have been taken care of? And then they're talking about, like, with the vaccine, who's going to get it first and all of that. I'm not getting it, period. Thank you very much. I've never gotten a flu shot, and I'm fine. Like, before this, I wasn't really sick that much, and this was the sickest I had been since I was a child, and I had the flu. As soon as you let someone take power over you and tell you what to do, then you are losing control. You are losing control of your own destiny, of your own life. And what I've been doing very much as often as possible within the limits that I'm able to do it is I've been walking more than ever since this started. Like, that's when I got out there and I exercised even more than I did before, because I knew I wasn't going to be going on the bus anywhere and walking around as much, and I wouldn't have things to do, so I had to make things to do. So I would have to, like, walk around the neighborhood, walk through Hollywood, West Hollywood, everywhere, and then see people and be connecting with people, like, on a daily basis, or as much as I could on a daily basis. Like, I don't ever wear a mask. I don't say don't wear a mask. I just say we shouldn't be told what to do. That's all. It's very simple. It's not political. It's just having the sovereignty over your own existence. Like, that's something that we should have as human beings. If there's such a thing as democracy, then we should be able to vote whether we want to give our powers away or not. But we aren't, because there isn't.
We shouldn't even have to vote. Like, we shouldn't have to. We have a divided country. Like, why should it be a vote? It should be each person should have the individual sovereignty that you're talking about. So,
I agree. This system where you look at someone and you judge them immediately, and then you're done with them. That's already been set up. So that is the blueprint for what they're going to do now, where they're going to have the anti-vax thing come back in, and people being chastised for that and ostracized by the community, and a more divide and conquer, basically. That's all it ever comes down to, is just get everybody riled up and mad at each other so they don't notice the big pharma is making crazy dividends, and so is Amazon and Apple and all these other companies that are embracing the new biometric era. The World Economic Forum, which is doing a lot of weird stuff lately, talking about the Fourth Industrial Revolution with Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset. But they had, on October 18, 2019, they had a tabletop exercise put on by World Economic Forum at Johns Hopkins University in New York, New York. And it was also produced by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and was about a novel coronavirus coming from Brazil, going to China and everywhere else. And the Chinese CDC director was there too, George Gao. And they were talking about what they would do, like with the World Bank executives and everything. We're talking about what they would do in this situation, and it ended up like 60-something million people died. And this guy, Tom Inglesby, was talking, and he was like, "Oh, it's just 60-something million people," and everybody laughed with him because they're insane. But you know, like, that's way worse than what we have right now. And they prepared for that. They prepared for that in the Crimson Contagion exercise earlier that year, in October. This seems like it was planned in that they planned not to do it well, handling it well, and to put the blame on this president, which is Donald Trump, and put more fear out into the world and more division out into the world. and have people attacking each other, which is very helpful for the bottom line, which was to get more money. Like, that's what the billionaires have done, is gotten way more money during this pandemic than they've ever seen before, like in such a short amount of time, and then destroying small businesses and destroying the middle class, I believe. There are advantages.
That has an end. That's not a good end game. It's like you need this whole system in order to support being a billionaire. And if you completely crush everything below you, then it's just going to bite you in the ass at some point, and everyone's going to revolt or worse.
Well, the thing is, they want to be the problem and the solution. So they create the problem, right. Then they reap the benefits, and then they say, well, we're going to save you now because we're all you have, right? The government is all we have, so we need the stimulus package or whatever. Like, they're going to say, you know what, we screwed up, but, trust us this time because we're going to get you out of this, and we're all in this together and all this stuff. And that's literally what they've done. And then the Great Reset is about, like, the coming in of, of all of this technology, AI, stuff that's going to make our lives better and keep us from doing too much work and everything, and like automation. They're just going to have a new industrial revolution. Everybody's going to be happy in their little dystopia. And you won't be a billionaire, you won't be a millionaire, but you'll be happy and you'll be a nice little slave. So that's going to be like the new thing that they sell to everyone as freedom, as something like you can just, watch TV at this time and that time in these different ways, and everything's going to be easier that you're going to do online, and 5G and everything is going to be fast and all this stuff, like giving them all these distractions and everything and saying, you know what, you're going to be fine and we're going to live through this. But then it's going to be a new era with the same rules, the same problems, but in different ways. Like there's going to be more drama, more trauma, more stress, and more people just losing their livelihoods. And that's going to make them more controlling over us in the end. That's going to give them more control if we allow... Okay, we're back. That was interesting timing on that. Just cut me off. Gave me a warning. All right, government, gotcha. See, I'm right. All right. On that note.
Let's bring us back around to power that people can do and help. And
less fear-mongering, more solutions, which is what this was about. It would be good to have more people reaching out to other people and saying, hey, we should look at this and what's happening here, and we should do something about it. And I think that's a good thing about the protests that have happened this year or whatever, all over the place, not just here, but like globally. There have been several protests that have done really well. And I think it's good that people are out in the streets and are caring about what their government is doing to them, or what rights are being taken away from them finally. Like, finally you're getting active and you're saying, I matter. And that's what it all comes down to, is that we all matter. We should make our voices known and not back down. That's what it's about. Like, just standing up for your own self.